He stood like he'd been here before. I knew that stillness. It's the kind that waits to hit back. The hand on his shoulder gripped tighter, white, heavy. Authority wrapped in a red MAGA cap. "No loitering," the man said. Jordan didn't answer, didn't blink. He just looked at the hand, the wrist, the badge clipped too high, then his voice, low, clear. "Don't. Not here." 3 words, not a warning, a timestamp. He adjusted the strap on his backpack, then walked, not fast, not slow. Just enough for the camera across the street to catch his face, and the man behind him. He didn't turn around, didn't look back. The sidewalk stretched quiet under his steps. The houses didn't blink. The windows stayed shut. But he knew. Someone was watching. Someone always was. Jordan had walked this street 100 times. Same cracks in the concrete, same slant in the lawn 3 doors down. Nothing changed, except him. That morning, before leaving, he'd zipped the bag slow, checked the side pocket twice. Not because he forgot anything, just to feel the weight. The zipper had a scratch, thin, barely visible. He ran his thumb across it, still there, still sharp. That's where the man's fingers had grabbed last week. No permission, no warning, just grabbed. He didn't report it, didn't post it, didn't tell his mom. He just remembered. The bag wasn't just a bag. It had been his dad's, same straps, same hidden lining sewn into the side. He found that by accident when he was 10. Thought it was just a tear. But there was a folded note in there. Old ink, smelled like a hotel hallway. His dad's handwriting was clean, tight. 3 lines. Never respond. Record everything. Strike when it's quiet. Jordan never asked what it meant. He didn't have to. His dad wasn't the kind of man who left things by accident. He hadn't seen him in years. People said he was gone. Some said dead. Jordan knew better. People like his dad didn't disappear. They waited, so Jordan waited too. He listened, learned who yelled and who whispered. He learned that silence wasn't weakness. It was distance. Space to think. The man today, the one with the badge too high, the hat too red, thought he was making a statement, but he wasn't. He was making a mistake. Jordan didn't walk faster, didn't walk slower, but the next time someone touched that bag without asking, they wouldn't touch anything again. 3 days later, something new showed up. Not a knock, not a call, just paper, taped crooked to the fence, the kind that curls at the edges in sun. It wasn't signed, no letterhead, no name, just one bold line across the top. Suspicious activity notice. And at the bottom, small, filed under Community Safety Guidelines, HOA. Jordan saw it on his way back from school, didn't pause, didn't even glance around. He peeled it off with 2 fingers, held it to the light, read it once, then again. There were no accusations, just implications, no facts, just tone. Language written by someone who wanted to accuse without being responsible for accusing. He folded it, clean, precise, slipped it into the outer pouch of his backpack, and checked the time, 2:17 p.m. From the roofline, a small red light blinked once. Just once, enough. The paper was still warm from the sun, but the words were cold, too familiar. Community Safety Guidelines. He'd heard those words before. His dad used to say them with a half smile. "Son, they'll write the rules to sound like protection, but they'll use them like permission." Jordan didn't tell anyone. He didn't need to. Because whoever posted that notice, they didn't just deliver a warning. They admitted something. They watched. They acted. They thought they had jurisdiction. But they were wrong, because Jordan knew something they didn't. This house wasn't under HOA enforcement. Not technically. Not since 2009. The lines were blurry. The record's older than most people cared to check. But Jordan had checked. Twice. That notice, unsigned, unstamped, and quietly aggressive, was the first mistake. The kind of mistake that seems small until someone asks where it came from, and why no one signed it, and why the camera caught the man in the red hat at 2:06 p.m. with tape in his hand. Jordan didn't walk inside. He stood still, just long enough for the sun to cast his shadow across the fence. Then he looked up, not at the house, at the roof, and smiled. Just once. The camera blinked back. Some of you might have paused there, that paper on the fence, that silence. I've had moments like that too, when the rules weren't broken, just bent hard enough to cut, where you couldn't yell, couldn't run, just wait and watch. If that landed somewhere in you, you can leave a trace below, or stay with the story. The next part's already unfolding. Jordan didn't reply to the notice, didn't post about it, didn't even mention it at dinner. But the next morning, he took down the old wooden sign in front of the house. It had been there for years, faded, tilted to one side. Most neighbors ignored it, but this one, the new one, was different. Fresh wood, burned-in lettering, a clean rectangular border with 4 numbers etched near the bottom corner. Lot 18B, assigned 1997. He wiped it twice. Slow. The cloth had a logo from his old middle school, the one where he'd been suspended after refusing to stand when a staffer called him boy. He hadn't fought back then either, just documented. Now, he looked up toward the roofline. Same old camera, still blinking red. He turned, just enough for the lens to catch his face, then walked back inside. No words, but a message was sent. That same afternoon, Peterson, still not named, but everyone knew it was him, sent another HOA-wide email. It bounced, returned to sender. Reason: recipient not valid within HOA boundaries. He sent it again. Same result. Something was off. What Peterson didn't know was this. 3 weeks earlier, Jordan had quietly submitted a parcel record adjustment through the county's public access portal. One line, buried in a sea of metadata, reaffirmed the boundary of the Hayes property as non-compliant with current HOA zoning designations. It wasn't a removal, it was a clarification, but legally, it changed everything. The board never noticed. They didn't check the records, but the system did. And now, any direct notice to the Hayes home had to go through the county, not the HOA, which meant Peterson's warning, the one on paper, the one on email, had no teeth. But he didn't know that. Not yet. Jordan did. He walked past the new sign that night, under the porch light, ran a hand along the edge. The letters were smooth, carved deep. It didn't say no trespassing, didn't threaten, didn't warn. It just stated a fact. Lot 18B since 1997. And when facts are placed just right, you don't need to raise your voice. You just wait for someone to step on them. The HOA meeting started late. Jordan arrived early, sat in the last row, hood down, backpack at his feet. No one greeted him. No one needed to. The agenda rolled on. Landscaping violations, paint color disputes, a pool heater too loud. Then, non-compliant property record, youth occupancy. Doug Peterson stood. No introduction. He didn't need one either. He pointed toward the back. Didn't say the name. Just, this kid can't legally hold title to that property, which means someone's lying on record. The room stilled. Chairs stopped creaking. Jordan didn't move, didn't blink. Then, from the center row, a voice cut in. Are you admitting you accessed a minor's property records without consent? All heads turned. Raymond Lynn, public school teacher, mid-40s, gray at the temples, soft voice, sharp memory. 2 years ago, Peterson had tried to have him removed for displaying a Black Lives Matter banner during homeroom. Now he leaned forward, calm, even, and said it again. Because if you are, that's a federal privacy breach, especially under Section 3.4 of this board's own charter. Silence, then whispers. Fast ones, nervous. Peterson stepped back. Just an inch, just enough. Jordan reached down, lifted his backpack. A folded piece of paper slipped loose, floated to the floor. He didn't pick it up, didn't look down. Someone else did, and read the bolded line near the bottom. Minors may be represented by legal guardians in all matters concerning residency and property management per HOA Regulation 2009.4. No one said whose guardian it was. No one had to. Jordan had never spoken, never needed to. He just adjusted his backpack strap, looked up, at the camera nestled in the back corner of the meeting room ceiling, held the gaze, then looked away. Deliberate. The meeting continued. Barely. Peterson didn't speak again, but the tension never left. That paper on the floor wasn't trash, it was evidence, and the camera, still blinking red, had seen every second. Who pointed, who accused, who stayed silent, and who didn't need to raise their voice to make the room shift. 1 week later, a letter arrived at the Hayes mailbox, stamped in bold, HOA violation, unauthorized residency, subject to immediate review. No greeting, no grace, just a deadline, and a threat of removal. That morning, Jordan left the house at 6:42 a.m., no backpack, no hoodie, just a gray file folder under his arm. At 7:15, the HOA office doors buzzed open. He walked in, didn't speak, laid the folder on the front desk, then walked out. No eye contact, no explanation. Inside the folder, 3 documents. The first, a faded fax, time-stamped July 2009, from Ethan Hayes, addressed to the former HOA board. It requested full legal retention of property rights for his wife and son in the event of active duty disappearance during federal assignment. The second, a printed reply from the HOA chairman at the time, confirming approval, signed, dated. It referenced Clause 11.2, a rarely used provision, special security displacement, rights retained by proxy. The third, an email chain from the HOA archives. Peterson's name wasn't on it, but the HOA's was, and that was enough. By 9:03 a.m., the office manager had read the file. By 9:11, she forwarded it to legal. At 9:42, Peterson arrived, holding a printed copy of the same violation notice, red-faced, loud. "This is standard protocol. He doesn't even—" She cut him off. "Did you review Clause 11.2? He blinked. What's that?" She handed him the fax. His mouth moved, but no sound came out. He sat, read it once, then again. Then flipped back to the front page. A fourth paper slipped from the folder. He hadn't noticed it before. Federal summons, signed Ethan Hayes, dated 2 months ago, issued from a blacked-out branch of the Department of Homeland Security. There was no address, just service required, clearance active. Outside, Jordan stood on the sidewalk, hands in his jacket pockets. The HOA manager ran out, still holding the fax. He didn't flinch, just said, "I don't think he read that part," and walked off. No smile, no turn back. But inside the folder, just above the signature line, a line no one saw but him. "Only to be opened if my son is threatened." Sunday morning, the grass in front of the Hayes home was shorter, neat, trimmed, even. No one saw it happen, but they saw the sign. Same wood, same shape, but clean now. And this time, the words were clear. Hayes Family Trust Property, secured under Clause 11.2. It stood steady, just past the shadow line of the porch. Jordan didn't look at it long. He just stepped forward, knelt once, and plucked a piece of grass from the base. It had tangled around the corner of the post. He didn't speak, didn't stay. Inside the house, a window creaked open. A hand, not visible but sure, set down a coffee mug near the sill, steam still rising. Beside it, today's paper, folded, heavy, and near the bottom, a small black and white photo, Doug Peterson, suspended, under internal review. No caption, no statement. Just a face caught mid-blink, and a badge number blurred beneath the headline. Jordan stepped onto the porch, paused, one hand resting on the rail. Across the street, the neighbor's dog stopped barking. No sudden sound. It just quieted. Something shifted, not big, but permanent. He turned back once, not for the camera, for the board. His fingers brushed the edge. There was a crack in the bottom corner, a thin, splintered line. He reached for it, stopped, then left it as it was. Some things stay broken, so no one forgets what tried to break them. Inside, the mug cooled, unmoved, unclaimed, but right where it needed to be. Jordan stepped inside, closed the door behind him. No lock turned, just the sound of wood meeting wood, and for the first time in months, the street felt still. Not empty, just still. Not everyone wants to win. Some people just want no one to touch what they've guarded too long. Sometimes justice doesn't roar, it hums, like the sound of grass being cut at sunrise. No witness, no applause, just the return of order. The old sign stood again, not new, but whole enough. There was a crack near the edge. Jordan left it there. Some people patch every flaw, others keep one, to remember why it mattered. Out on the porch, a coffee cup cooled in silence. No one claimed it, but it had been placed, deliberately. Some gestures speak only to those who've waited long enough to notice. That's how legacy works. Not noise, not crowds. Just the quiet certainty that someone once prepared for this moment, and now someone else knew how to carry it. The badge is gone, the shouting's faded, but the post still stands. The line is drawn. Some homes aren't defended by fences. They're guarded by memory, paper trails. One calm decision after another. No voice was raised, no threat was needed. Just presence and timing. There are battles not worth winning, only worth surviving. There are things that do not need to be fought for, as long as we can maintain our reason and composure.